Okay, here we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jayan Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Padurjikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Viṣṇu Pad Paramahansa, Padurjikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta-vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of November 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 3 entitled Karma Yoga on page 145, text number 8. Niyatam Kuru Karma Tvam Karma Jayo Hi Akarmanaha Sharira Yatrapi Chate Na Prasidyed Akarmanaha Niyatam Kudakarmatvam Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye jakarmanaha. Niyatang kudakarmatvam. Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye karmanaha. Niyatang kudakarmatvam. Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye karmanaha. Who wants to try? Go ahead, Nelson. Niyatam kudakarmatvam. Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye jakarmanaha. Chris? Not yet. No, go ahead, Boo. Kudu. Niyatam kudu karmatvam. Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye jakarmanaha. Go ahead, Chad. Niyatam kudu karmatvam. Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye jakarmanaha. Anyone, you want to try? Go ahead. Niyatam kuda karmatvam. Karma jayo yakarmanaha. Sharira yatra pichate. Naprasidye jakarmanaha. Not yet? Okay. I'll just read the synonyms the word by word myself.
Niyatam kudu karmatvam.
Niyatam kudu karmatvam.
Karma jayo yakarmanaha.
Karma jayo yakarmanaha.
Sharira yatra pichate.
Sharira yatra pichate.
Naprasidye akarmanaha.
Naprasidye jakarmanaha. Niyatam prescribed, kudu do, karma duties, tvam you karma work, jayaha better, he certainly, akarmanaha than no work. Sharira bodily, yatra maintenance, api even, cha also, te your na never, prasidyate is effected, akarmanaha without work. Translation, Krishna says to Arjuna, perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Purport. There are many pseudo-meditators who misrepresent themselves as being great professional men of high parentage who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul together by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously, without purification of materialistic propensities. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renouncing work and living at the cost of others. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, the context, always the context. And the idea, when you look at the Bhagavad Gita as a whole, is that this is, of course, 18 chapters in a very long book. And it's part of the whole story of how the Battle of Kurukshetra took place for the reinstitution of Dharma in the person of King Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas. And it's a very long story, and you may know part of it, describing their exile and the attempt to kill them by the Kauravas. So it's come to this. Now they're all facing each other, millions of soldiers. They're in the place between the two armies, not in the midst of the two armies, between the two armies. Hopefully we're going to clear that up in the early chapters here. At the request of Arjuna, Krishna offered to be the charioteer, taking an actual position of service to Arjuna. The charioteer has to do what the warrior says to do. So Arjuna says, "Oh Krishna, please take my chariot between the two armies so I can see who's going to fight on the other side." And to get an idea of what he has to face. So then he does that, and on the other side, he sees all kinds of relatives and friends. He sees his Viṣṇu, who took the role of his grandfather when their father was untimely demise. And his teacher, Dronacharya, who trained him in military science. These are superiors, teachers, who they should be highly respected, what to speak of fought in battle and possibly killed. So right away he's set it back. But not only those two, the whole clan, it was the Kauravas, the Pandavas are also part of that clan. And they're seeing even the Dhartarashtrans, which are the sons of Dhritarashtra. Arjuna says, "Oh, I wouldn't want to even live if they've killed," which is amazing because they tried to kill the Pandavas several times. They tried to usurp the kingdom. But the main point is that he sees all kinds of relatives and friends by marriage or blood relatives like that. And so he gets cold feet, so to speak. He doesn't want to fight this battle because it means, what's the point of fighting the battle? To win the kingdom. But he says if we win, that spoils will be soaked with the blood of the people who I love. What kind of victory is that? I'd rather go off to the forest and just beg and live as a mendicant, which he's not really suited to do. So after giving this whole argument to Krishna, and not only that, but the men will all be killed, the women will be unprotected, and Varna Sankara, unwanted population, will increase. I'll be responsible, and I'll get all the sinful reaction. No, thank you. But he knows that Krishna really wants him to fight. Because at the beginning of chapter 2, he said, "Takto tishta parantapa." How is this klaibya, how is this impotence come upon you? This doesn't befit an Aryan. This is not what an Aryan's all about. The word Aryan was misappropriated during World War II. Nowadays, people don't really know what it means. But Aryan means those who are knowledgeable of spiritual values of life. And therefore, if they're kings and they're leaders of society, they try to propagate the spiritual values of Krishna consciousness and bhakti yoga, like that, for the upliftment of society as a whole. So, but it isn't anything but Aryan to give up, suddenly abandon a battle whose aim is to reinstitute dharma, which is spiritual values, in society. You see, Arjuna is proposing to act against the Aryan principle. So that's at the beginning of chapter 2. So Krishna but that is not a spiritual reason to fight. In other words, before Arjuna surrenders to Krishna as a guru, Krishna is speaking more or less as another Kshatriya, which he is, and giving him, if you leave the battlefield, no one is going to think, oh, he did it on a high principles because he didn't want to, see the whole country spoiled. No, they'll think you were a coward. And your great name will go into the dirt. What could be more painful for you? This is accurate speaking, but it's nothing transcendental. This is just, Kshatriya to Kshatriya. So then Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. Arjuna is our example of how we should receive the Bhagavad Gita. So he surrenders, no more speaking friend to friend. As Prabhupada points out in the purport to that verse, that friendly talks can go on forever, they'll never come to a conclusion if you're speaking with an equal, you know what I mean? But if suddenly you're confronted with the Guru Dev, especially if that Guru happens to be God, it's a different relationship. And so Arjuna says, now tell me for certain what's best for me. Now, Karpanya dosho pahata sabhava prichamitvam dharma samuda cheta. I'm completely bewildered about dharma. Now, dharma is a very important consideration in the Vedic culture. They want to do the right thing because they know that acting dharmically according to the writings of the Shastra and what's right, then they have a better chance of progressing in life, meaning getting a better birth in the next life, perhaps going to heaven, That's just a general thing. What to speak of the supreme dharma, bhakti yoga, which can take you out of this material world entirely. So you can go back home, back to Godhead. No more birth, no more death, no more old age, no more disease. The cycle of samsara can be ended. So they're very concerned to act dharmically. So Arjuna says, I really don't know what dharma is here. What's the right thing? So you please instruct me. So the whole thing changes, the relationship, and Krishna immediately chastises his disciple. He says, Ashochanam ashotastram pragyabhadam sabhasase. You're speaking learned words, referring to the Vedas and everything, but really you're lamenting for what is not worthy of grief, namely the physical body. That's not the ultimate consideration. Nobody's going to die on this battlefield, but everybody's going to die but you. There's the paradox. All these bodies are going to be killed, but nobody's going to die because nobody is their body. Everyone's a spirit soul. And what he doesn't say, but which is confirmed throughout different shastras, that because they're going to be die in the presence of Krishna, they're going to get a better birth, perhaps even go back to Godhead. So what's the downside? The whole thing, all these friends and everything will be killed, but no one ultimately is going to be killed. They'll have to leave their bodies, but no one will die, and because they die in this sacred place, the battle, the Kurukshetra, and I'm here, then everyone's going to be benefited. So it goes like that. Second chapter. But then in the third chapter, he comes back now to the idea of this karma yoga, which is the first thing that you can do. How can we act piously according to the Vedas in this world? So here in text 8, which we read, Krishna said to Arjuna, you have to do something. So he says, you should act according to your prescribed duty. Niyatam kudu karma. Now karma has different meanings. In its most general sense, it means activity. Whatever you do is karma, it's action. But when it's differentiated from two other things, vikarma and akarma, it's very important distinction. This will come up later. Then karma means action according to the Vedas. Vikarma means what we see all around us. Sinful activity with no reference to the Vedas, just for the purpose of sense gratification. And Rishabhadev will say in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nunam pramaktak kurate vikarma. Yadindriya pritaya arpanoti, which means that certainly those who are simply acting without any reference to the Vedas, they're performing sinful activities, vikarma, for the sake of pleasing the senses and the mind, which is also a sense, mental pleasure, are certainly mad. Why? Because such activity is sure to bring him another physical body, which ensures suffering. Just having a physical body, it's meant for that. If we have a little, like right now, nobody is suffering so much. Maybe just, because I'm speaking, there's some suffering there. But but the point is, we all know that that's there in the future because we've had it in the past, right? We've been through some things and, got through. I mean, I don't know how many times I remember driving and almost getting killed on the road. This was back in 68. I was a million miles away from Hare Krishna. How many times have I confessed this on this seat? I was raised as a communist, and we were driving to Montreal from New York for a big communist meeting, me and a bunch of friends, in a car that I think was stolen. So we're driving this car, 68. We were rebels, you know. I didn't steal it, but it was stolen. So I'm driving on something called the Thruway. This is New York State. And the Thruway goes like all the way from New York up to Canada, you know. So there's mountains there, Adirondacks. It was like the end of spring, which means it can be kind of cold. So we're going from fairly warm, maybe 60, 70 degrees, but then when we got up a little higher, it was free. The road had frozen. Bottom line, suddenly there was ice, and I had no control over the car. I'm going 60, 70 miles an hour. And we started going around this way. Luckily, we didn't flip this way. But and I didn't even have time to get scared, you know. What can I do? I didn't do it. So somehow, you know, by instinct, because I had been a taxi driver, I rode this way, that way. We didn't flip over, but we went into the, you know, where the two lanes are separated. What do you call that? The midway or the, you know, the median. And it was slightly, you know, so, okay, nobody's hurt. You know, everyone stopped screaming. We had some ladies in the car. And so now what do we do? Well, we have to try to get out of this ditch, you know, and get back on the road. But the problem is one of the axles was slightly bent. So instead of going 70, we limped up all the way to Montreal, like going about 20 miles an hour in the right lane, you know. But we didn't get arrested, we didn't get stopped or anything like that. And that was a close call. One more. So I'm driving Sadaputa Prabhu from Philadelphia to upstate New York, where he's going to resume teaching in the university. This is with I joined the movement, of course. This was maybe 78, something like that. And all right, driving along, and again on the highway, and suddenly the guy in front of me slows down noticeably, you know. I'm in a van and he slows down. Luckily, I was able to pump the brakes and I didn't hit him. And as soon as he saw I wasn't going to hit him, he sped up, and I understood what he did. He wanted me to crash into him, so that he would get the insurance, because whoever gets hit like that could. And I could, you know, easily died in that. Anyway, this is material life. It happens all the time. Our own Pujari here, Dayanidhi, I don't know if you know that, he was riding a bicycle. Luckily, he had his helmet on. He came out, and the guy hit him. He knocked him off the bike, and his head hit the car's back window and broke the window. He had the helmet on, so he was relatively okay. He was out for a few days. He could have easily died there. So this is the material world. Danger at every step. There's a verse like that. Danger at every step. So, how would you like to live in a world where there is no danger at every step? There's no danger at all, because you're under the complete protection of Krishna. And there's no death, no birth, because you're completely in your spiritual body. We ourselves are pure spirit. This is the first lesson we learned in chapter 2, right? Dehinosmin yada dehe. Krishna says to Arjuna, Natre vaham jatu nasam. This is before Dehinosmin. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you. There are all these warriors on the battlefield. We've always existed in an individual conscious being form, you know, and we always will exist as individuals. So where's the death? The death is of the various bodies that we inhabit according to how we act. This is why karma is so important. We have to know how to act in the sense of karma, following the Vedas and doing our duties, and to come to the point of akarma. So I'll just tell you the difference between akarma and vikarma. A karma is action, in this context, action according to the instructions of the Vedas. But there's so much in the Vedas that's really just for material elevation. It's not necessarily bhakti yoga, you understand? Vikarma is out and out sinful activity, against the laws of God, often against the laws of nature. That's why we have climate change and we have all this stuff. And it produces individuals suffering in this life and the next, and often suffering for a lot of other people. Akarma is action that's within the context of bhakti yoga and has no reaction, good or bad. You don't want good karma. That means you have to come back in another body to get it, to get the results. Great. You know, now I'm born in a good family and I have a good education and I have some money. But I took birth again in this body and I have a chance to perform sins. So you don't want to come back at all. So what we want is akarma, activity such as sweeping the temple here. There's no bad reaction from that. There's no good reaction, material reaction. It's all transcendental reaction. It's purifying for the soul. You're getting rid of any karma, good or bad, by your activity, chanting Hare Krishna while you're sweeping the floor here. It looks like ordinary activity, but it's not. It's activity for Krishna. The motivation is not for yourself; it's for serving Krishna, and it's cleaning away all kinds of bad karma that is residual that can bite you eventually, and it's paving your way for going back to Godhead. So that will be explained, and he gets into the theme of yajna, which is just coming in the next verse. Yajna means acting for sacrifice. You're sacrificing your own interest, means the interests of your body and what you normally do, for the interests of Krishna, which means for your own ultimate spiritual interest. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. So, but it all depends on your understanding of the eternality of the soul and that we've been embodied for millions of births, but by Krishna's mercy we forgot all those births because we couldn't live for a moment if we remembered all that stuff, all those different ways we got sick and died and got eaten up, please. Just thinking about it, well, I don't want to do that again. So let's go on. Krishna wants Arjuna to follow his duty and fight. And you have to do something, he says, just to maintain the body. So why not act according to your duty within Varnashram, and that'll be auspicious for you. But now the next verse is a key verse, Yagyartat, and it has a different translation than you have in your book. I'll tell you. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma konteya mukta sangha samachara. Now here's how the first phrase should be worded. Work has to be performed as a sacrifice for Viṣṇu, semicolon. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. Now here, prescribed duties means fighting. That's what his dharma is. Purport. Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that that purpose can be fulfilled. Yajna means Lord Viṣṇu or sacrificial performances. There's two main meanings. It's interesting. Yajna generally means a sacrifice, but in its ultimate sense, it means sacrifice for the pleasure of Viṣṇu or Krishna. That's yajna. And what is the best yajna in this age? Yeah, Hare Krishna. Sankirtan, chanting Hare Krishna in congregation. The Sankirtan Yajna has been given by Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya for our ultimate benefit. So, Yajna means Lord Viṣṇu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Viṣṇu, or Krishna. The Vedas enjoin Yajno vai Viṣṇu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yajnas or directly serves Lord Viṣṇu. Krishna consciousness is therefore a performance of yajna as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashram's institution also aims at satisfying Lord Viṣṇu. Varnashramacharvata purushena parakpuman Viṣṇu arajate panta. Viṣṇu Purana 388. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Viṣṇu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work, and in the beginning this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. So, this is, it sounds pretty severe. Nothing should be done for sense gratification. But let's consider like a simple activity in devotional service that we've all experienced. Honoring prasadam, which means eating. Now, eating is normally an act of sense gratification, one that everyone does practically every day, right? So, how to turn it into a sacrifice, into an act of devotion for Krishna? Well, that's the whole art of preparing and offering and honoring prasadam. It's not just food; it's prasadam. Means that it's the mercy of the Lord. It's the grace of the Lord. So everything depends on your consciousness. First of all, the gaining of knowledge, that's an act of consciousness. Hearing, studying, imbibing knowledge. So that you can act in an informed way. You know what I mean? You're not just acting on the basis of the impulses of the senses or even the mind, but you're acting because this is the right thing to do. And you know that even though it may not be pleasing to the senses and the mind, as other things have, in the ultimate sense it'll be for your infinite eternal benefit. Getting up, that's one of the biggest surrenders you join the ashram. Getting up at, really you have to get up at about 3:30 to get there by 4:30, especially if there's a line to get into the bathroom. But it's unheard of. Who gets up at that early, Why do they wake me up in the middle of the night, Because the first ceremony is at 4:30. This is an auspicious time of the day. It's Brahma Muhurta, So right away, yes, there's some austerity there, but, with a little effort you can do it. And after some time it becomes second nature. This is just what we do. And so that's really good, because that early time is the best for meditating, performing religious functions. Certainly japa. You can imagine, japa is a lot more meditative to perform at 5:15 than 10:30 in the morning when everything is busy and especially if you have to go to work. So the point is that there is a learning curve and there is some austerities to accept. It has to be that way, because our habitual activities are geared toward keeping us bound to this material world and continuing in our syndrome of trying to enjoy separately from Krishna, performing sinful activity, and then losing human form of life. We don't want to do that anymore. So, yagyartat karmana. Yagya has to perform the purpose. You see, the word artha is a very important word in Sanskrit. It means something of value. It often means money. There's these four basic goals of Vedic culture: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are four goals. Voltechanya said, yes, but there's a fifth goal, the ultimate goal, prema. You see? Prema, pumarto, there's the word artha again, puman. The supreme artha for human beings is prema, love for Krishna. Because it takes you right out of this material world. Krishna is most attracted by love. It's not an easy thing. That it doesn't, we have to cultivate that. But we can do A, B, C, D, and E under the instruction of higher authorities so that we can systematically purify ourselves. The really encouraging thing is that we have it already. It's already there in the heart. It's just covered. It's something that has to be covered. Lord Chaitanya in his teaching to Sanatana Goswami, he says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, with very important instructions, one of the instructions says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. Shabanadi Shuddha Chitte Kodaya Hridoi. Now in this context, the word sadhya means something that's brought from outside, something that is not natural to you. But he says it's not sadhya. In Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, the eternal perfection of prema is already there in the heart of everyone. Every soul has it. But only in human life can you awaken to it. You see? So how do you awaken? Chiefly by hearing and chanting. Shavanadi. Shavanadi means hearing, etc. Well, the first etc. after hearing is chanting. So what is the essence of chanting? Sankirtan. I chant, you hear, you chant, I hear. That's kirtan, that's Sankirtan. That's what Prabhupada did when he came to America. He gave a little talk, he started with a big kirtan, gave a little talk, another kirtan, and prasadam. That's basically the outline of the Sunday feast. So, why is it so important? Because it's especially designed in this age for purification. It's a great blessing. We hear from, and Lord Chaitanya didn't invent it. You know, this Hare Krishna mantra was there already. I think he quoted the Kali Santarana Upanishad. Now it's easy, there's so much Sanskrit flowing. What does Kali Santarana mean? It's very simple. Kali is Kali Yuga. Tarana is like we sing every day, right? Sangsara Dava Nadadita Loka Tranaya. That's a variation of it. But how about Prabhupada's pranam mantra? What is it? Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Desha Tarine. Tarine, you see? To deliver. He's delivered the Western lands especially from this impersonalist Mayavad, Nirvishesha, and the Shunyavad, which is the voidism, that ultimately everything is zero. You just have to get back to zero, you'll be happy, nirvana. Can you imagine? It's like merging into Brahman. But we're persons. We have eternal form. You know, in relation to Krishna, we've forgotten that. What are we going to do with that? Help. You know, it's impossible. It's boring. There's no other word for it. It becomes so boring just to be relieved from birth and death. That's not fulfilling for the soul. There has to be the positive activity. So, Kali Santarana, it says, the Upanishad in this case has this two verses. The first verse is, you know this first verse already. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's right in the Upanishads, the ancient Vedic scriptures. And what's the second verse? Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. Which means these 16 names, which you see right here, which is the foundation of this Hare Krishna movement, you may search throughout all the Vedas. You will not find a better means of counteracting all the evils and ills of Kali Yuga. Kalmasha. Iti Shodashakam Kali Kalmasha means the impurities and the suffering that's inherent in this particular age of Kali. Kali means fighting. Don't you notice everyone is arguing, fighting, there's wars going on? I've been aware of things for at least 60 years, 65 years in this body. Meaning that my parents trained me up to read the New York Times every morning. Believe it or not, age 10, I'm reading the New York Times. And so there's always some battle, either threatening or going on, that the United States was in, whether it's Vietnam, Korea, Vietnam, and South America, North America. And what about the other countries? So that's what's happening, fighting individually and state to state, and like that. So we're in the middle of that. So it says Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Natak Paratara Sarva Vedeshu. You look throughout all the writings of the Vedas, you will not find a better means for counteracting the contamination and the evils of this Kali Yuga than these 16 names, hearing and chanting it. And Lord Chaitanya presented it in the most delightful way. These Kali Yugas, they'll never be able to sit in meditation. That's impossible. So we'll take these three things that are often used for deepening your involvement in Maya. The singing and dancing and playing musical instruments. How many raves have we been to, Rock concerts, singing, dancing. Just forget about everything, take a pill or whatever, and just have a... So it's called Taurya Trikena. There's a word phrase, Taurya Trikena, means these three forms of entertainment. So what did he do? He created this system. He pioneered that. Congregational chant. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're coming from, There's no hard and fast rules for chanting. It's not true with the Vedas. If you're not a Brahmin, you can't chant the Vedas. Don't try it. Yeah, South India. But anyone can chant Hare Krishna. So chanting, hearing, and then play the drums, get you going, and you naturally start dancing, chanting, dancing, and hearing and chanting Hare Krishna. That's the dharma of the age. Who can argue against it? So, that's the sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your time. Sometimes you sacrifice your energy, but the result is a million times greater than what you sacrifice. But in general, our activities have to be performed in this mood of sacrifice. Not that because otherwise what's happening is, if you just work hard for sense gratification, or even just to maintain your family, which is also ultimately built around sense gratification, then you're just tightening the knots in the heart that will bring you back to another birth. And so the bottom line is, or the basic principle of what to aspire for is liberation. But not impersonal liberation. Liberation through bhakti. As the goal of bhakti is not liberation, but a wonderful byproduct of it is. And so if you want liberation, perform this bhakti yoga. It's the easiest form of getting liberation. You just chant one name. You can't chant one name. I'm an editor. Chanting means repeating, right? You can't chant once. But you can utter the name once, right? So you utter the name once of Hare Krishna once, and you've just gotten rid of eons of bad karma. You don't know that, but you have. It's in the Bhagavatam many times like that. What could be more of a blessing than that? So that's just a preliminary benefit. The ultimate benefit is not liberation, but it's prema. And that includes all the liberation. This is a wonderful verse in the Krishna Karnamrita. This is a book that's delightful for Krishna's ears. You can imagine writing how realized that soul was, the Bilvamangal Thakur. He's physically blind, but he's writing this, and he's seeing Krishna with his spiritual eye, how Krishna is so delighted with all these verses he's writing. So near the end of his book, and he's written others, he says, Bhaktis Tvayi Stidatara Bhagavadgita Syad. And he's speaking directly to Krishna. Tvayi means unto you. So he's seeing him with his spiritual eyes because he's physically blind. Bhaktis Tvayi Stidatara Bhagavadgita Syad. Daivena Nakpalati Divya Kishora Murti. Mukti Swayam Mukulitanjali Sevatesman Dharmartha Kama Gata Yaksama Yapatiksha. Now you remember I said there's these four basic goals of Vedic culture: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So he's listing them here in this verse. The most important one is Mukti. So he says, if someone is situated very nicely in your devotional service, Bhaktis Tvayi, he's speaking to Krishna. Tvayi means unto you. Stiratada, firmly, in your devotional service. Bhakti Tiratada, Bhagavan, O Lord. Yadisyad, if that's the case, then here's what happens. The result is, Daivena Nakpaliti Divya Kishora Murti. Then you will reveal to that person your most delightful, beautiful adolescent form, your original form is Krishna. That's the goal of the bhakti, not the mukti. And as far as mukti is concerned, third line, mukti personified. Is personified as a goddess. Mukti Swayam Mukulitanjali Sevatesman. And here's something you can learn. We just had a Pushpanjali ceremony for Prabhupada, right? And we're going to have one on Thursday. There's a problem because it's also Thanksgiving. So they're going to be in this temple room they set up. Those who've been here before for Thanksgiving. We do a Thanksgiving feast. People can come and have Thanksgiving dinner here in the temple room. And it's certainly set up before 12 o'clock when we have the Pushpanjali. So we may have to have it in the lounge for Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji. It's never happened before that we had the conflict, but it's happened. Anjali, Pushpanjali. Now what does Anjali mean? Anjali is this, it's a mudra. Remember we talked about mudras? The most important mudra you have to know, Radharani's mudra. Whenever those curtains open, you can see her hand, her right hand like this. This is called the Abhay Dan Mudra. Now, Abhay, we should know, Abhay Charanadavinda. Bhaya is fear. Abhay is fearlessness. Dan is the gift. Radharani is giving us assurance, there's nothing to fear. You just chant Hare Krishna and serve us, Krishna and myself, and everything's going to be fine. She's giving us fearlessness if we take it. So, where was I with that? Oh yes. So he says, Mukti Swayam Mukulitanjali. That Mukti personified is staying by the door with the Anjali Mudra. The Anjali Mudra is this, you see? And it's got a little cupped hand, because inside there is an offering to the Lord, you see? This is why, this is like the thing in the Vedic culture, right? If you say namaste, right? When I'm taking my walk, and the car stops and let me pass, I reflexively do this, you know? Or if I greet with someone, say good morning, you know? I try to, probably would say good morning to them, because I know what Hare Krishna is. And if someone says good morning back, I said, oh, they're getting a little benefit, you know, because they said that to it. But Anjali means you're making an offering. Ultimately, your heart is in here. You know, you're offering your heart to Krishna. So Mukti personified is offering herself. She's saying, I'm at your beck and call. You know, if someone is fixed in devotion, they're seeing Krishna, he's revealing himself, you're way beyond Mukti. Mukti is ready to serve you. Save it. And as far as Dharma and Artha, Kama goes, because there's an element of pleasure, you know, in taking prasadam. Very nice prasadam is there, you know. Yes, it's a spiritual activity, but if it's prepared nicely, then it's more satisfying. So whatever I need in terms of dharma, artha, you know, physical, you know, maintenance and so forth, that's also divided. They're also waiting for me. All as a result of being fixed in devotion and getting a revelation of Krishna in love. So prema bhakti takes care of all of that, subordinate things. And the point is, you don't want them. You're not doing it because of mukti. You're certainly not doing it because of artha. You know, that's money. No. You're doing it for the fifth purushartha. Purushartha means the goal of a human being. And the parama purushartha is prema. Because that conquers Krishna. You can imagine. Krishna is conquered by Mother Yashoda. This is the Damodar month. Right? He allows himself to be conquered because of her love, her intense love. And so he allows himself to be bound up, you know. So that's an important fact. Prabhupada said on a tape, I heard it recently, we don't just want to be servants of Krishna, we want to conquer God, you know. We don't want to be God, we want to conquer God. How can you conquer God? He's Ajita. He conquers all these big demons, there's no question. By love. He agrees to be conquered by love. And that's what this movement is all about. So it begins with learning how to act in your life so that as much of your life is an act of sacrifice for Krishna. And you find you get so much more back by that sacrifice. This is a sacrifice. You will sacrifice your time, you know, and hopefully you're getting something out of it. I'm just trying to repeat what Prabhupada says. All right, if there are any questions or comments, you can ask me. One has to work for the... It's scientific. One has to work for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu. That's the first sentence of the second paragraph. So, okay, what happens if I don't? Then whatever you do that's for yourself, your false ego, that's prolonging your stay in the material world. You see? That ultimately, as we see with Srila Prabhupada, every action, whether it's, you know, getting up in the middle of the night and writing his books, or talking on the telephone, meeting with reporters, whatever, was for Krishna, was for spreading Krishna consciousness, was part of his service. And he was always enlivened and always blissful and always fearless, you know, because he's with God. So that's the model we have. It's possible to do it. All right, let's go on. We have time for one more. Sahayagya praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishadvam esha vostvishta kamaduk. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Viṣṇu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." Purport. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Viṣṇu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Viṣṇu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvar ahameva vedyaha. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Patim Vishvasyatmeshwaram. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.20, Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Shriyak Patir Yagyapati Prajapatir Dhyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapatihi Patir Gatish Chandaka Vishnisatpatam Pasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Patihi. The Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu. Prajapati is similar to the word progenitor. It means he who is fathering generations. Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures. What happened there? Another mistake. Yep, sorry about that. The Prajapati is Lord Viṣṇu, could repeat it, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds, and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas or sacrifices for the satisfaction of Viṣṇu, so that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. That means all people in this age. Sankirtan Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32 as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yajna. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hisumeda. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, by performance of the Sankirtan Yajna. Other yajnas, close quote, other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtan Yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita also, 9.14, where Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dudhavata namasantasamam bhakta nityayokta upasate. That the Mahatmas, the great souls, are always Satatam kirtayan, they're always chanting my glories, they're doing kirtan. Satatam means always. Satatam kirtayam yomam yatantascha dvidhavada, and they're striving with great determination to practice bhakti in many other ways. Satatam yantana dvidhavata namasyantastamam bhakta, they're bowing down to me with great devotion. Nitya yukta upasate. In this way, they're always linked to me in bhakti, and they're always worshipping me. So this is very important. Right in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about kirtan, so always chanting Krishna's name. So this verse, as Prabhupada points out, what it says here, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence, Sumedasa, will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yajna. It identifies Lord Chaitanya there. Krishna Varnam Trisha Akrishnam. Krishna Varna means two things. One is he's always saying the syllables. Varna can mean syllables. Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or it means that he belongs to the Varna of Krishna. Varna means the category, right? Varna, Ashram, Dharma. He belongs to the category of Krishna. He is Krishna himself, who has assumed the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani, so that he can taste love of himself. And that's why it says Trisha Akrishnam, because Krishna's complexion is Krishna. Krishna also can mean blackish. I don't know if you know that. but Lord Chaitanya's complexion is Akrishnam, golden. And he comes with his anga, his upa-angas, his astra, and his parshadas. These are a whole list. Anga means his limbs, his immediate associates, of this panchatattva, consider. And the upa-angas is other broader associates. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are hundreds in Navadvip and Vrindavan, everywhere. And astra, now this is interesting. Astra means weapons. And what are his weapons? He has two weapons. The holy name and his beauty. somebody became attracted just because it's so beautiful. So the holy names will conquer all your bad karma and purification. So it's very. He doesn't kill the demons. He has his hands are open, right? He's dancing on the altar. So there's no weapons there, but he does have the weapon, astra, of the holy name to kill the demonic mentality in the hearts of everyone, so that they can be delivered. That's it. And the best way to worship him is through the Sankirtan Yajna. That's mentioned. Yajna, Sankirtan, Praya means for the most part, those who are intelligent. So this is a very important verse because it substantiates Lord Chaitanya's divinity and the process of Sankirtan, 11th canto. So I'll end with a quick poem because we only have a few minutes. From the Shikshastika, Lord Chaitanya's 8 instructions on the holy name, where he says, Ainanda tanuja kinkadam patitam mam vishame bhavam bodho kripayata vapada pankajas tatatuli sadashang vichintaya. So he's the prayer to Krishna. How's it start? Your servant for eternity. I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol. And thank you for coming. Why don't we do it again tomorrow? If you have time. Same time, same station. And with Vijay on tour, we can have our full kirtan.